Today's episode is sponsored by our friends at Famous Faces and Funnies. Hey, you too can tap into the Florida market when it comes to comic books, action figures, and games. Click on the link below. And of course, PGX Graded Comics. Gen X for getting your comic books graded and encased. Fan for fan service. Alrighty, welcome to another exciting episode of Codename New to Vero 2, the Gen X for Gen X channel. I'm your presenter, Shibaru. I know it's been some time since we did a full video, being that it's summer. Like a lot of people, I too have been doing a lot of traveling, as far as also work. I've been busy with work. And, this whole entire retro room that my regulars have, gone through with me, it is a freaking mess. I know I always say that, but in this case, literally, I just been dumping shit, and you guys probably can relate to that. When you're coming in and out, or when people's coming over, everything else takes more priority than the actual retro room itself. So it is literally like a walking landmine. In the middle of all that, we've been doing our project where, thanks to this professional arcade machine repairman, his name is Jeff. He has a retro console restoration service. I'll put it on the link below. I highly recommend utilizing him. He is local to me, but he also is starting to branch out to the lower 48 as far as like restoring your old consoles. So far, he's worked on my original NES, my original Super Nintendo, my Dreamcast, PlayStation 1, N64. So basically what he's doing is he takes it down to all the circuitry. He replaces all those old capacitors that have a tendency to leak. Make sure the electronic board is pretty much brought back to like new status. Cleans out any of this stuff. Replace the hard drive on anything, or the laser that reads the CDs or DVDs. So he has gone like those, and also install HDMI output in case you wanted to plug it into a modern TV set. I decided to take advantage of that just in case, let's say so many people want to play something on the Dreamcast. Well, I could just bring the Dreamcast out in the living room, hook it up with the HDMI, and bada bing, bada boom. Like I'm getting to play. And so he installs all that for me, and I cannot say how grateful and how wonderful. It's like finding something in the wild and like you wanting to hold on to it because you never know and you want to take full advantage. So anyway, one of the reasons why this place is a mess is because I've been ripping out old consoles, turning around, give it to him to repair, then bringing them back, doing the test on the CRT, then plugging it back out there to a modern LED Sony TV. So like it's just been a complete chaos. So like we do with every month, last month we kind of took a break, but we're going to do our monthly PGX graded unboxing. And this is a wonderful, wonderful supply of some books that are very interesting, very cool, really hits in on all the Gen X stuff that we all love and we all grew up with. So without further ado, let's dive in. And also I'm going to share some things with PGX, with PSA coming on board and CGC coming on, So it's like these two big guys are fighting on each other. And little guy down here, he's kind of actually getting the best of everything, because while a lot of people are like looking at these corporate juggernauts like fighting it out, the essence, the reason why we're in this hobby is right there and is being prominently more featured. So PGX is still a good, viable option. Again, it is acknowledged by every auction house, Heritage, Prestige. They acknowledge PGX and are willing and will sell PGX books at their auction because they meet their standards as well as Overstreet guideline standards. So there's no reason, except for these CGC trolls that, kiss up to CGC, to get discounts on their grading for themselves. So let's dive in and let's look at this amazing, amazing collection. Here we go. Alrighty, our first book is no surprise to our regulars. A lot of you guys know that besides G.I. Joe and all 80s toys, action figures, comics, I have a special um, fandom for none other than Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Now, this is issue number 5 in the House of Mystery series. What's been interesting, and if you guys have followed me since the beginning, because I was one of the few channels to feature Elvira's comic series and talk about it in a glowing positive light for which it is, that a lot of interest has come back. Prices on these have skyrocketed. I mean, they've dramatically increased since we first began. For example, issue number 1, the House of Mysteries number 1, I'll have up here. You could have gone for like $10, whatever. Now, even in raw ungraded, is commanding around $30 per book. Now, this issue has also gone up. And I kind of feel that, in all honesty, it's a Dave Stevens trickle-down effect. The guy who tried to sell this to me actually said that this is a Dave Stevens cover, which is not. It's a, what's his name? Mark Beecham. Mark Beecham's cover, which is often mistaken for being a Dave Stevens cover. This book is beautiful. It is a wonderfully illustrated book. The lines, everything, you could see why the comparisons to Dave Stevens would be made for this particular cover. I think when it comes to this series, issue number 1, issue number 2, issue number 5, and of course the Dave Stevens issue, the issue number 11, are often widely regarded as the ones to get. And this is definitely one to get. Doesn't break the bank, but the raw copies of these are also going for around $30, $35, give or take. And graded examples of 9.8s hitting above $100. Now this one we got a lowly 5.5. So, but still, like I said, it's a win in my book. Number 1, it's a newsstand edition. Now, I'm going over something my regulars know full and well that I like to point out. We're going over a newsstand edition. We also have a very beautifully well pressed. This book was dirty. I mean, dirty when I handed it into PGX and utilized their clean and press service. It is amazing how astonishing the blues, the purples, everything, even the yellow has popped back up. Same thing with here. The white. This was 2 shades darker when I handed it in, and so you could imagine. Wow, this looks and presents well. I don't give a rat's ass about the 5.5. I think it's definitely looking better than a 5.5. I think you should regrade. So they usually have the grader's notes printed on the back. So I'll have to ask Danny why that wasn't included. But wow. Oh, yeah. Here we go. This is the reason. This corner right here. Yeah, and this little chip right there. God damn it. That sucks. That little thing here and that chip here, I didn't see, of course I don't really go through it and like with the fine comb when I pick these up raw. It's more like, hey, it's a cool cover. Boom, send it in, But yeah, this is definitely one to pick up now if you're out there. It's still attainable at very good prices. You may find them in your back bins for below what they're going for. But Elvira House of Mysteries, issue number 5, not Dave Stevens cover, the Mark Beecham cover. Came out in July of 1986. So definitely a good pickup that doesn't break the bank, that has a lot of potential. Because despite Cassandra Peterson, Elvira, coming out, she's brought in a whole bunch of new fans. And these new fans are loyal. And they're picking up. So that's why what initially thought was something that was going to hurt her has ended up helping her out. I don't really care. I just think she's a great character. I enjoyed her through all these years. Who cares if she's, playing for a different team? It doesn't affect me at all. So the way I see it, more power to her. And I'm glad she could be true to herself. But definitely pick up House of Mystery issue number 5. Alright, so the next book we're going to take a look at has a lot of potential, especially with the MCU going towards the more mutant saga of their cinematic universe. I also think that this character has a lot of intriguing and a lot of controversy around it. And I'll explain more as I talk about it. Because, you know what? Getting my perspective is sometimes different from other people. It kind of sheds light on things, and it opens up dialogue and conversation. That's what I love about this channel. There's no hiccups, no egos, no whatever. There's people having a good time and connecting, and that's what this is all about. So this book, like I said, is the new X-Men number 133. This is the first appearance of a character called Dust. And when you watch X-Men 97, at the very end, one of the remaining mutants that's accountable is actually Dust. Dust's story is piggybacking off of our involvement in the whole Afghani, anti-Taliban, being in Afghanistan and sometimes having to go into Pakistan and all that other stuff that was going on. So Dust is a Muslim character. She was discovered in a recent mission to Afghanistan by Wolverine and I forget somebody else. But they discovered this girl who was being picked up by Taliban slavers. And, we're going to force her into doing horrible things, as you could imagine. So the X-Men come, they sensed that she was a mutant and saved her. Now, even amongst Muslim people, it's proud that they have a Muslim character in a positive light, but she's wearing a burqa, and that's very extreme. It's like Amish people, to be honest with you, going to that extent, and I'm saying this amongst Muslim people, like that's the equivalent of the Amish dress, if trying to. So you guys don't dress normally like Amish people. So for us to see maybe she could, like Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, happens to also be Muslim by faith, and she dresses like normally, like most Indian Pakistani girls would dress up as. So that's pretty cool. Where it's amazing to have a positive representation, especially in the sea of hatred and bigotry and nonsense. Like when I worked for the government and, it was the people. It's so far, the hospitality and the kindness, the laughter, the joy of just having a good, clean, simple life by the common man in these terrible, these places. It's terrible. The fact that they can't, they just want to live out their lives, provide for their kids, and just enjoy family time. And yet they have these group of people who are taking their name, their faith, and tarnishing it. It's upsetting to them as much as it is to me. So I think this is and also we find out that there's a branch for in Mumbai or Bombay. So they have an X-Men mutant office headquarters there for people in that region with the X gene. So that's another good thing. That's some good positive light. I love to see that. And so this is also a good for right everybody else. It's still a good to pick up because of the fact the X-Men 97 involvement where MCU is going to go, and the markets that and I hate to say it, like more conservative areas, thus would be a good gateway into those types of markets. So without further ado, new X-Men number 133 is definitely a good pickup. First appearance of Dust. So keep that in mind. Alrighty, so our next book is another one that has a lot of potential and that a lot of people are sleeping on, and why this is a good time to pick this one up. And I'm talking about Amazing Spider-Man number 303. So, this is a Todd McFarlane Amazing Spider-Man. We all know those two words together usually generate a big buzz and a lot of big dollar signs that follow it. Not so. And that's why I'm bringing this to everyone's attention. So, we got 298 all the way up to probably 301 of Todd McFarlane Amazing Spider-Man. But it's those issue number 302 to probably around issue number 315 that are often forgotten by a lot of people. And we're seeing a residual effect going on where now these prices are starting to increase. So right here we have Amazing Spider-Man issue number 303. This is a wonderful Todd McFarlane cover. I always liked when he was able to incorporate more than just Spider-Man. Like, you know, for example, Amazing Spider-Man number 316, the one with Spawn. I mean, that's Todd McFarlane's image of what Spawn is. Of course, his predecessors, or his successors, I'm sorry, after him kind of changed that up to where he's more grotesque. His tongue got longer and snaky. And Mark Bagley is amazing. You know, all those guys post McFarlane are amazing. But it's cool to see Todd McFarlane's version of like Captain America or the Incredible Hulk. You know, those are the issues where other characters are in that I personally like to collect and that are also skyrocketing once the non-important, like for example, issue number 300 or 316. You know, those are big Todd McFarlane keys, and you know those prices are skyrocket high. So that's why I think issues like this, and I also spoke about Marvel Legends when Todd was doing covers for Marvel Legends. Those are excellent pickups if you're a Todd McFarlane fan. They don't break the wallet. Well, as of right now, they're not going to break the wallet. But like I said, prices on this, even raw ungraded, have increased dramatically as a trickle-down effect from issue 300. So now is the time to act on those, especially like I said, issue number 302 to 315-ish, because that's when, you know, what should I say? Venom comes back. So, you know, that's definitely something to look into. The back, you know, again, beautifully done. That famous Chips Ahoy puzzle that we all Gen Xers love to play or love to look at. No matter how many times, like, you still have to give it a go. You know, that's what I love about it. They don't do that anymore. That's what sucks. It's those little things in comics that we all grew up with that I'm so sad that this current generation won't get to experience. And that's another reason why we have this channel. So we could have that to pass what we had down to another generation. Not everything is not on your fucking phone, you know. So get up, you know, do something, look at something, touch something, you know, legally. So that's the whole thing that I hope inspires all of you to do in your community, in your little world. So again, a great cover. I like the fact you got the Sandman, Silver Sable, like I was saying. There's a little. This the finer details. It's cool to like get lost in a cover every now and then and try to find little things like that, like I just did. Anyway, Amazing Spider-Man issue 303. Alrighty, so our next book is another book my regulars know. I think I have one of the biggest graded G.I. Joe collection, graded comics collection. A lot of the IDW run, like good portion of the Marvel run. But there's still some issues that are like out there that I'm still hunting. As far as like all the big ones, everyone knows about. I know we got a whole bunch of people that came on board in 2018 into G.I. Joe, and you know, been following some of my videos and stuff, and it's cool to see that a lot of people get to go back and like learn stuff that maybe wasn't popular then, but you know, a lot of the stuff on this channel has, especially with the G.I. Joe community, of like, oh, there's been a channel all this time, you know, that does G.I. Joe comic recaps. So it's kind of cool that we're getting that. You know, I've been hard on the bandwagon jumpers, and you know, it is what it is, and maybe I would like to assume like a good percentage of them are good people. So that's how I go into this. I know there's a few like racists and like just nasty people, and you can't do anything about that. Like, you know, I can't punch everybody out. So what the hell is the point in like, you know, letting those people affect me, you know, because they win if I go down to their level. So the next book is really important because it is G.I. Joe issue number 145. Now, of course, you got the big issue number 1, issue number 21, issue number 155 that are big dollar must-haves for a lot of collectors. But I always tell people, yeah, after you get that, start looking towards the end of the G.I. Joe run. And I'm talking about like around 135 to probably 154. At this time, the writing, unfortunately, the handwriting was on the wall. A lot of us were growing out. We're growing up. We kind of forgot about G.I. Joe, especially us 80s kids. And I think it was some of the millennial kids that got on with the 91 line, post G.I. Joe, the movie, they were aging out themselves. So you see a big drop, and where the print run of G.I. Joe, especially at the back end of the iconic Marvel run, had a very low print run. So they're really, really difficult to find. And on top of that, I'm looking for newsstand variants. I don't care what condition, as long as it's newsstand, I'm interested in that book. What we have here is finally I was able to get a really good copy of issue. I would get them, didn't like something, sell them off, to the next collector who, they didn't give a fuck about. But I kind of did. So we finally got issue 145, newsstand edition, clean and pressed, with a grade of 90. That is a win for me. And I'm so delighted. I love this cover. The reds, and like I said, red, yellow are really tough. And for it to have the yellow snake eyes and the red background, this book came out absolutely beautiful. You got just a noticeable scuffing on both these corners. Other than that, that is it. That is it, folks. This book came out amazing. I'm so glad they add yet another graded G.I. Joe to my collection. There's going to be a few more. Don't be so quick with that. All right, so let's dive into our next book. Alrighty, so our next book is going to be a post MegaCon grading. So I'd gone MegaCon. MegaCon is kind of like the kickoff to the con season. It's been, kind of turned into that. You got MegaCon will start. Of course, you'll have San Diego, Chicago, and then, of course, New York is probably like the end of it, of the con season. So starts off, I believe, with MegaCon. It ends with New York City Comic Con, as far as the big kahunas are concerned. So it was kind of cool, like going down and, the next two books specifically I'm going to show is, just getting the artist to sign. You don't have to do all that fancy shit. I know Tom McFarlane was there, but I wasn't going to spend, and also Frank Miller was there. I wasn't going to spend money, and I wasn't going to stand in a long-ass line just to get a damn signature from another human being. I don't care who you are, except for Ozzy. I did that. I mean, I didn't stand in line, but Ozzy would be the only person. My regulars know I've loved Ozzy like all my life. So yeah, his passing was pretty sad, but it was expected, kind of like, he's just deteriorated so much in the past, since COVID. Like it just went, like it was going bad, then it just went really bad. So I feel bad for the guy, but I'm happy that his pain is over with, because living a life like he did with all that pain and suffering, at least his suffering is over, and now his legacy can take over. So that are my 2 cents about an artist that I really, really passionate about and I really enjoyed through the years. So that said, the first signed book from MegaCon we got was Amazing Spider-Man number 26 or 920. So Zeb Wells, who had a very, very not controversial, it was a difficult run for him, and I was able to talk to him about that, and he said, like, the time to when you write stuff to when it comes out, and then all the stuff that, the red tape that goes in with Spider-Man, yeah, it kind of did affect him a little bit. He said if he gets another chance at it, there's a lot of things he's learned to be better. So it was kind of nice to have a writer be so open and honest about, and made you understand, like, a lot of people just slammed his run. And it was difficult. In my pickup videos, all you guys saw how difficult. There's a lot of stuff I still haven't read It just went right into the box, like boom, boom. And for me, that's kind of rare, and that's what was happening with the Zeb Wells runs. I was getting just not interested in it. There's nothing about it. Well, this issue kind of made a lot of news, a lot of noise. It's one of those issues that may have significant impact through the years, but it sucks because a couple months later they brought Kamala Khan back to life again. This time as a mutant to coincide with her MCU appearance in that whole series of Miss Marvel. So this is the death of Miss Marvel as we know her, you know. So the Inhuman Kamala Khan is dying. Now rising up is the mutant Kamala Khan. So you see Zeb Wells drew a little R.I.P. and a little Miss Marvel thing. I thought that was a cute little touch he did. Another all black cover like the one from 9/11, the commemorative issue. So I definitely wanted to pick this one up, and I think this was one of the good. And I brought the right color marker for him to sign. So this is, again, the back is awesome. This is one of those really nice covers that I think as time goes forward, and hopefully as Miss Marvel's fandom grows as well, that this book would be probably more sought. The time that Miss Marvel died, so to speak. So this is definitely one I'm really happy to get and really happy to add to my collection. He actually signed so many things without me asking. I had like a few stack of Zeb Wells. I don't know why, but he was like, I'm going to sign them all. He's like, the fact that you came up to me and talked to me and, were so positive and listening, I'll sign it all, man. Don't worry about it. That was a cool move. I'm not a signed guy. I don't really give a shit. But definitely, this is something that I really, really like. Alrighty, so our next book, after a quick dip in the pool and a lot later in the day, is going to be another MegaCon signed graded showcase. Now, here's the thing. A lot of us Gen Xers, I just talked about Todd McFarlane. But us Gen Xers, we go up with the George Perez, the Tom DeCarlos, the John Burns, all Larry Hama. Like, that was kind of like our heroes. And then, of course, in the 90s, we had Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld, Jim Lee, kind of towards the end of, our adolescence, so to speak. But for the core of it, it was the usual suspects. And I cannot, they all those people that I named have such a special place in my heart, because there were so many nights, like, it was just me and their comic books reading before bedtime. And so when I saw that Mike DiCarlo was there, I really got excited. And then the next thing was like, what book kind of would be like, there's some amazing books that, The Lonely Place of Dying, like as far as Batman is concerned, there, especially in that late 80s, early 90s run, he was like pretty much, he was pretty much in charge of everything, and like those are some like A Lonely Place of Dying, Batman Year 3, Year 2, Death in the Family, so to speak. I mean, there's so many iconic Batman titles that guy was associated with, and it was such a big part of me growing up. So I went through the moon when I saw that Mike DiCarlo, and again, so unassuming, not a big line out in front of him, which I found kind of odd, because George Perez is no longer, and it was always like him, George Perez, or some, they were always together, and to see that he is the last of that whole team, again, like, we just lost Ozzy, Hulk Hogan, all these iconic 80s guys are gone, or going, and, it just made me take a minute to appreciate the time that I had with him. And so the book I chose is going to be A Lonely Place of Dying, issue number, this is part 4. No, part 5 of 5. So this is the first time Tim Drake puts on the Robin persona. And when I get on this, again, this is a newsstand. Um, it wasn't really a perfect copy, but it was perfect for what I needed it for. And there you go. There's Mike DiCarlo's signature. I got Tim. So it's a significant issue, especially, considering what's going on with the MCU. And Batman himself has said the best detective out of all the Robins is probably going to be Tim Drake. He is the most all-around best detective behind Batman himself. So we got a 6.0 on this. But I wanted to point to you some cool things that PGX, you get the gold, any autographed one, you get a gold label on top. And I think that's beautifully done. And PGX wanted me to announce that they're also going to be changing their labels up. They're going to be including like foil numbers. So 9.8 will have like a foiled number. Of course, the 10.0 will have a foiled number to signify a little bit more special. And again, I highly recommend using PGX. Their clean and press service is second to none. They really did so justice on all of these books with their. And usually the in-house cleaning press service is kind of shitty, as our good friend CGC Sports Illustrated can attest to. Even with the magazine side, CGC does not do a good job with the clean and press. It's like they kind of like mass, just like everything else. It's mass-produced, kind of hurried. PGX does a fantastic job with their clean and press service. I think out of all the companies, they by far do the best job with their in-house clean. So if you can't find a third party, PGX is the best out of all of them as far as like in-house. And again, some new features with the labels. They always have the blemishes on the back for you. You don't have to use a code. There's so many advantages. It's really the fan for fan choice for when it comes to grading. Again, they are recognized by all the reputable auction houses. They are Overstreet compliant. A lot of people have said bad things about them in the past. We found out that a lot of them aren't true. They're all made up by fanboys that try to belittle on behalf of CGC the competition. This is how monopolies work, people. They try to make the smaller company look like they're not capable of doing, when in fact they're quite capable. They're also improving on the slabs, which I love to hear. I mean, these slabs are great, but after all these years, PGX is going to be improving their slab as well. And I'm looking forward to the new slabs of PGX grading service. There's going to be a lot of cool things happening. So don't just look at CGC and PSA, the big kahunas. If you're like me, if you really believe in what America is about, you support the little guy because they're in it for the right reasons. PGX doesn't have to report to a boardroom. They don't have spreadsheets and graphs. It's so corporate now what they're doing. And, I know I have to deal with them when it comes to graded magazines, but it's like, dealing with the devil, so to speak. So when it comes to comic books, I use PGX, and I have been for so many years. I made the switch a long time ago, and it's one of the best things I enjoy. I enjoy the level of service, the personal attention, the care, the being treated like a person, not a freaking number like CGC does. And I just think this is a fantastic job. The back, you got TurboGrafx 16. I remember a lot of you remember this ad in a lot of comic books. So again, this is a tough one to grade because look, you got that white background. It came out beautiful. So a little bit of the tick marks kind of did this book in. Yeah, especially on the spine. Other than that, this book would have been a much higher grade. There's a lot of tick marks on that spine, and but it still came out beautiful. Tim Drake, wow, it's a beautiful book. This was a good series. I remember reading it. A Lonely Place of Dying often gets overlooked in all the Batman stuff, but it's a good one to revisit. So give that a try. Alrighty, so the last book for this showcase, and my regulars know that I always end with the heavy hitter. Um, my regulars know that there's no secret that I have been a big fan and friend of John Royal from the very beginning. I said way back when I was covering the IDW run, and he was offering those retailer exclusives, those special covers that he did, that this guy is a good artist. And I remember the mainstream, or all the comic book guys would be like, oh, he's just the J. Scott Campbell clone. He's just a J. Scott Campbell. And I said, no, there's a uniqueness to John Royal's artwork that I really do love. I mean, and not just from G.I. Joe. He also did the Betty Page. He also did some Elvira covers. He did a lot of stuff for Xenoscope, and a lot of spicy, a lot of sexy lines. Just amazing job of him drawing the female form. He does it, and his Baroness is, I think him and Jamie Tinsdale does the best Baroness modernly. So if you're looking for a good Baroness cover, those two guys are the go-to. Now, Jamie has not really done much, and you guys see on the video, I usually have her the one iconic cover, I Make Boys Cry. I'll show you that up here in the background during some of my videos. But I got to meet both of them. I'm John Royal is very, very he doesn't like to. I've asked him so many times to come on the channel, and he's like, respectfully decline. I don't feel comfortable. He's very introverted, but he's a nice guy, and I've gotten a chance to know John all these years, and he's always been grateful and appreciative of my support and support of the fans, and really when the G.I. Joe issue number 195 came and that Baroness cover, we have the G.I. Joe comic guys, and then we have everybody else, right? And a lot of these younger guys, they don't buy G.I. Joe. So they're kind of weren't really exposed. But that cover made a lot of trending lists. A lot of non-G.I. Joe people were looking to pick up John Royal covers. So anyway, this is... And he hasn't really been a factor since the switch from IDW to Skybound / Image. He's only done a few things as retailer exclusive variants. Like, for example, this one's going to be Eastside Comics exclusive. So we're looking at G.I. Joe issue number 308. Now, this is the very, very beautiful John Royal cover. There's some right there in the back. I mean, I love hanging up my John Royal covers. I probably have one of the biggest collection of John Royal graded comic books, and that's no coincidence. He is one of my favorite modern artists today, and there's no secret about that. But this is such a beautiful cover. This is a virgin cover, so there's no other. You could just appreciate all of his lines for the Baroness. I mean, this is what I think of. It used to be the Sunbow Baroness, but now it's John Royal's version of the Baroness that I picture of the most. And this is beautifully done. You got the back there. You got Eastside Comics exclusive, G.I. Joe issue number 308. And this was just a great, great pickup. And I'm so glad to have it in my collection. 9.8, no doubt about it. That's kind of cool. So we ended today off on the right note. Thanks for watching. We're going to do our CGC graded unboxing. That means our CGC magazine unboxing. I got some good magazines. Again, pop culture. Some one of them will feature none other than Jane Mansfield. When it comes to those bombshells of the 50s, Jane Mansfield was definitely everyone thinks Marilyn Monroe, but because we're younger, we weren't affected by that. Our parents, that was kind of their thing. Not my parents. I mean, they but a lot of parents, Jane Mansfield and Marilyn Monroe, Sophia Loren, a lot of those. And then This one is special because we also feature another 80s icon, and as far as Christy Brinkley. Christy Brinkley, share some facts about her. So stay tuned. We're going to have another unboxing. It's a lot of fun. And then, of course, our monthly comic book pickup episode. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching. I hope you continue to enjoy those shorts. And just thank you so much. Have a good day, guys.